Shalom, shalom, Israel. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom to all the men and women who are rehearsing the righteous acts day in and day out. Shalom to you. Before we get started, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rekakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who are preaching and teaching this truth with humility and sincerity across the four winds of the world, to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America, and the Israelite stranger that has been scattered across the four winds, but their lineage also goes back to a black, Hispanic, or Native Indigenous of the America, which goes even further to the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as well, collectively making the whole nation of Yasharallah, the 12 sons of Jacob. Okay, so today's video, as we do a little reading here, looking at some news earlier, and I ran into this article here, and it states, Trump says he has no problem with a Russian tanker bringing oil to Cuba despite the United States blockade. In case you haven't known, in the last month or so, the U.S. has placed a blockade on Cuba and not having them receive any type of oil, causing their whole island to have no energy, because the energy they use is used of the supply chain of petroleum. So that whole island is without electricity. And this is what the DJ had announced about a couple weeks ago, and also had announced how he is going to take over Cuba, and how he announced throughout all the media platforms that he was going to take it over, and he was going to pretty much make the people in that island suffer, so the government suffers, and having them pretty much bend the knee to the U.S. and let themselves be held captive by spiritual Babylon over here in America. Okay, but let's read a little bit of this article so you could get an idea of what's going on, and how ridiculous the Babylonian Empire is looking right now. Okay, aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump on Sunday night said he has no problem with a Russian oil tanker off the coast of Cuba delivering relief to the island, which has been brought to its knees by a U.S. oil blockade. Let's continue. We have a tanker out there. We don't mind having somebody get a boatload because they have to survive, Trump told reporters as he flew back to Washington. When he asked if a New York Times report that the tanker would be allowed to reach Cuba was true, Trump said, I told them if a country wants to send some oil into Cuba right now, I have no problem whether it's a Russian or not. On Monday, Russia's transport ministry said the oil tanker Anatoly Kolodkin arrived at the Cuban port of Matanzas carrying the humanitarian supplies of about 730,000 barrels of oil. The vessels is sanctioned by the United States. The vessel is sanctioned by the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom following the war in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Monday that Russia had previously discussed its oil shipment to Cuba with the United States. Russia considers it its duty not to stand aside, but to provide the necessary assistance to our Cuban friends, he told reporters. Trump, whose government has come at its Caribbean adversary more aggressively than any U.S. government in recent history, has effectively cut Cuba off from key oil shipments in an effort to force regime change. The blockade has had devastating effects on the civilians. Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio say they want to help, leaving many desperate. Island-wide blackouts have rolled. Cubans already grappling with years of crisis and a lack of gasoline and basic resources has crippled hospital and slash public transport. Experts say the anticipated shipment could produce about 180,000 barrels of diesel, enough to feed Cuba's daily demand for 9 or 10 days. Cuba has long been at the heart of geopolitical tug of war between the U.S. and Russia, dating back decades. Trump on Sunday dismissed the idea that allowing the boat to reach Cuba would help Russian President Vladimir Putin. It doesn't help him. He loses one boatload of oil. That's all it is. If he wants to do that, and if other countries want to do it, it doesn't bother me much, Trump said. It's not going to have an impact. Cuba's finished. They have a bad regime. They have very bad and corrupt leadership. And whether or not they get a boatload of oil is not going to matter, he added. I'd prefer letting it in, whether it's Russia or anybody else, because the people need heat and cooling and all of the other things. Okay, so there you have it. As you can see, he was talking a big game a couple weeks ago, how he's going to, demolish the regime they have there in Cuba. And that was part of him, using his Babylonian power, to put the squeeze on Cuba and their regime, but also at the same time making their Cuban citizens suffer the consequences, okay, making them weak. And this is the counter that you're seeing, the counterattack, more of a economical counterattack from these other nations like Russia, okay, that passive aggressive style that they're using right now and provoking and ridiculing the DJ here in Babylon the Great. Okay, this is making Babylon look very, very foolish, very weak, and cowardly, because just a little while ago he was doing all these moves to cripple Cuba, and now he's saying that it's okay, backpedaling. He says he has no problem with Russia tankers bringing oil. And I believe a couple months ago, I did hear something about Mexico as well, trying to aid with Cuba in certain things. I can't remember exactly what that was, if it was oil as well. But let me look that up real quick, because I kind of remember reading that. So other nations have been doing their moves, and and if you read between the line, those moves they're making is pretty much saying, I don't give a fuck what you gotta say. I'm gonna help them out, and what you gonna do about it? Type, This is how the Russians are moving right now. Mexico helps Cuba with oil. Let's see. Yeah, this is what I kind of remember a little bit a couple months back. But this is a big deal because it's Russia now. And if you know anything about the Cuban Missile Crisis, couple years back. That's a very scary thing with, Russia having their missiles on that island. Of course, you should have concern. This could be another excuse for Russia playing chess, acting like they're just doing the good Samaritan, and we're just bringing oil over there, but at the same time, you don't know what else they could be setting up shop for. So this is a major passive aggressive move of what you gonna do about it. DJ Babylon, what you gonna do about it? And Babylon's looking real weak right now for the moves, and he's trying to play it off like, oh, it's all good, I don't care. But you look real foolish right now, okay? As the leader is of the nation is the people, okay? The spirit, the mindset of the leader of a nation that mirrors the people of that nation. And this is how emotional, this is how ridiculous the people of Babylon here in America looking like to the rest of the people. Okay, let me read this real quick before I get off topic. Mexico reaffirms support for help of the Cuban amid blackouts of oil blockade from the U.S. You see, Mexico says it will continue to support the people of Cuba as the island nation faces an emergency crisis after a prolonged oil blockade from the U.S. Okay, so I guess they were doing then humanitarian aid. Okay, I know they were helping in something. I couldn't remember and what they were helping. It was oil as well. Mexico has continued to send shipments of humanitarian aid to the country. You see, so not just Russia bringing oil, Mexico, I believe Canada too. I remember reading something about Canada. So a lot of these nations, man, are pretty much saying, man, F you, we know what you're doing. And what are you going to do when we go and help them people? And, man, this is some major chess moves on the part of the other nations because, it's making the DJ look real dumb, man, real weak and cowardly, man. And that's the best he could do is just say, oh, I don't mind. I don't mind if they do that. And it is very foolish. And if you really think about it, that is a very scary thing because we don't know what else they have in mind when they go just leave oil tankers there. All right. We don't know if the Cuban missile crisis situation could come back up again. Right. Now, all types of things could be happening, and this is the effect, the cause and effect, and the situation Babylon finds himself in right now because of the reckless, emotional decisions of a man who is ultimately be destined, we believe in the spirit, destined to bring Babylon the Great down. Okay? And we're going to, and Salaki for the long intro, but we're going to go into scripture right here. And this is all part of prophecy. This was the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Okay, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh in the ancient Hebrew, meaning He exists. Bahashem is coming in the name. Yahushai is the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Yahushai in the ancient Hebrew, meaning He saves, He delivers. And Rakak Wadash is Spirit Holy. Okay, let's get started here. Let's get started here and let's start in Jeremiah 50 and 42. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. Okay? And this is spiritual Babylon over here, in case you didn't know. Spiritual Sodom and spiritual Egypt, the house of bondage. Okay, this is the virgin daughter of Babylon, regenerated in the spirit here in America. And this is exactly what's going to happen in future prophecy, how it is written also in the book of Revelations. But let's go here to number 43. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Okay, and this is how this dude's really looking, man, and he's just playing it off. But this man, just by that little phrase he said, you know he's scared, you know he's waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs of a woman in travail. And pangs as of a woman in travail, okay? Just like a woman, and we all know that a woman is a very emotional creature, okay? She could be furious, but all at the same time being sad and crying and crazy, all types of emotions mixed together. That's what a woman in travail, you know, in pain, you know. Just like a woman giving birth, having all types of pain. This is what's going on with the king of Babylon. You know, you're seeing it more and more. This man has no clue and is really just trying to play it off as much as he can. But the ones who are going to suffer is everybody here, right? But this is all part of prophecy. The wicked ruling empire of Esau, Edom, is Babylon the Great here. And Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai has an indignation for this nation here, right? And is going to destroy this nation by the hands of other Edomites. Okay, this has all been prophesied throughout the Bible. Okay. Let's go here to, I wanted to bring this one out. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes, that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay, so, if you could receive it in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, the least of the flock is referring to the small hats, the Amalekites, who are the same Edomite family, okay? They go back to Edom as well. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Okay, and this is all part of prophecy. He's going to make Babylon the Great a desolation along with the Amalekites, okay? And Chaldeans or Edomites as well, okay? Let's continue here to Jeremiah 50 and 46. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved. Okay, and how else can a noise move on earth? There's only one way that a whole earth can be moved, and it's by ICBM and A-bombs. Okay? And the cry is heard among all the nations. And the cry is heard among the nations, okay, across the world. It's going to be heard, man. This is how great of a destruction that's coming here to Babylon the Great. Okay? That all the nations will be able to hear it and see it. Okay? Let's go here. Let's go here to Jeremiah 49 and 17. Also Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. Okay, this is giving a visual of what it's going to look like for Babylon the Great here in the America. Okay, people are going to be astonished. People are going to look at this land and be like, this was the great land, the great city that everybody so wanted to be part of and wanted to go there. This is how much of a desolation the Lord Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai is going to bring judgment here to the wicked empire of Esau, Edom, and Babylon the Great. Okay, let's continue here. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, said the Lord Yahweh, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Okay, this is ultimately the end for Babylon the Great. It's all part of prophecy. There's no way you could go around it. And as you can see, their so-called wannabe fearless leader is, talking differently now, right? Talked a big game, but now, he's backtracking because the world's watching, okay? The world's watching, and the world is also mocking him as well. Okay, the world is mocking. Man, I missed it. The world is mocking this guy because, he's a very reckless leader and was just a little while ago talking a big game, how he's going to destroy and belittle third world country like Cuba, man, And this goes to show the arrogance and the pride of Esau, Edom, and how these Babylonians over here are so desperate, are such in a loser mindset to the point where they're laughing and still trying to hold on to a little bit of pride off of a bullying a third world country, man. Come on now, Cuba. There's no flex in that, man. Nothing against the Cuban people. They're Israelites, they're Jakes. Very talented, very good people, as well as you got, wicked heathens as well there too. But that nation was a third world country like all of Latin America and all the other nations of the world. So, I guess you could say Venezuela was a little bit of a flex because they actually had a lot of resources over there. And they were fruitful for a while till the Lord took that away. And just like he took the fruits of Venezuela and all these ruling other empires in the past, he's going to do the same with Esau, Edom, and his wicked ruling empire here in Babylon the Great. Okay? I just wanted to bring that out. The Spirit led me to talk about this, how this man is just, showing all types of signs of weakness, all types of sign of confusion and just straight nonsense, man. Like he's treating the American media like a reality show, man. But this ain't a reality show. This is not a show. This is real life. And you go around talking crazy, there are going to be consequences, man. And you are actually doing very foul moves, very foul, a lot of folly and foul plays, very wicked, heathen, crooked acts, deceiving people, taking their resources, talking about, and boasting about it, like the wicked, proudful Edomite that he is. And everybody here is applauding it. Well, at least, his followers are, not everybody. But everyone here is going to pay regardless, for all the wicked, except for the hopeful elect and the sincere men and women who hearken into this 100% true gospel, who are God-fearing people of the true 100% true doctrine that was delivered by the Holy Spirit in these later days, which are now, for us to have an opportunity, maybe, to have salvation. Okay, because this just keeps escalating from worse to worse and worse. And like I said, I did a video a couple of days ago, Any moment, they just need one big drastic event to happen, to pop off, for them to usher in this so-called homeland security at a full force, to the point where they're going to usher in the CHIP and have all the excuse in the world to be like, well, we don't know who's who. I was reading an article earlier too, how there's supposed to be, I think it was the Marine Corps graduates, Marine Corps graduates that are graduating to become Marines and whatnot. And obviously very government official areas of the military. And they have an article out saying that they're not going to allow that they're going to have ICE agents over there, vanilla agents over there, while the graduation is going on. And why do you think that is? You got to ask yourself, out of all the years, why out of graduations they've always had, 20 years ago, they never had vanilla agents out there. And their excuse is, in case any illegal migrants go there, illegal, going to a government military base, that doesn't make sense, man. They're saying in case illegals go there to support their family that's graduating, they're going to arrest them. Come on now. Does that even make sense? 20 years ago. And first of all, everybody knows that. Why would an illegal, you won't find them guys around any type of police department, or, they're trying to avoid places like that unless they get contracted by the head boss of that building to do some type of labor work, landscaping or whatever. But other than that, they're not going to be around there, man. And when they get contracted by them fools, they turn a blind eye. This is why nobody respects Babylon the Great, because they're full of crap, man. They say one thing and they go and do the other. They say one thing on the media and they over there being crooked, man. This is why nobody respects Esau, Edom, and his empire anymore, man. Because, again, it's the same wicked fool gets on the news every day, then contracts a bunch of people to be janitors or whatever. I'm just making up a reason. But, this is the hypocrisy, the double standards, the straight foolishness that rules this kingdom, man. Okay? So now they're saying they're going to have these ICE agents, and they're not going to allow any illegal immigrants to go and support their graduating Marines. I wonder how. It just sounds stupid, It doesn't even make sense. Now, it makes sense that these fools are scared that somebody might go in there, and that'll be a perfect opportunity for something to happen. This is why this guy says any other thing. But in reality, man, if you notice all these moves, ICE agents and TSA and the airports, all to help them, with the labor, with the job. Bullshit, man. These people are terrified. These people are freaking out right now, man. Any place where you have a lot of military people, chiefs, etc., they're worried, man. Anything can happen, right? Because, you live by the sword and you will die by the sword, man. And that's what Esau, Edom has done through his empire, right? Through all his years of his kingdom here in Babylon the Great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end it with that. Before I go, I want to give all praises, all glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are preaching and teaching this truth with humility and sincerity across the four winds of the world to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indigenous of the America, and the Israelite stranger that has been scattered across the four winds, but their lineage also goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as well. Shalom, shalom.